This video made millions of people cry, and it started with one sentence. "Daddy, please come home." A 7-year-old girl whispered those words every night while her stepmother turned her into a servant. She was slapped, humiliated, broken. But her father had no idea until he checked the hidden cameras. What he saw made him do something that went viral across the world. This is that story. And I promise you, you won't forget it. Welcome to the story room. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. The sun rose over the beautiful estate in London that morning, painting the windows with soft golden light. But inside, the silence was almost painful. This wasn't always a quiet home. Once, these halls were filled with the sound of a little girl's laughter, the smell of fresh cookies, and a mother's gentle voice singing lullabies. 7-year-old Sophie Williams stood in front of the large mirror in the hallway, staring at the family photograph hanging on the wall. In it, her father, James Williams, one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in Europe, had his arm around her mother. They were both smiling. Sophie was just 3 years old in that picture, sitting on her mother's lap, giggling at something outside the frame. "Good morning, Mummy," Sophie whispered, touching the glass gently with her small fingers. It had been 5 years since the car accident. 5 years since her mother's perfume stopped filling the house. 5 years since anyone made pancakes on Sunday mornings. Her father tried his best. He bought her toys, took her on trips, and held her when she cried. But some empty spaces, no matter how much love you pour into them, take time to heal. Sophie walked down the grand staircase, her little feet making soft sounds on the marble steps. She was wearing a pink dress her father had picked out for her the night before. "Wear this tomorrow, sweetheart," he'd said, kissing her forehead. "You look like a princess in pink." But when she reached the dining room, the woman waiting there didn't smile. Victoria. Tall, elegant, and always wearing too much perfume. She was James's new wife, and she had moved in just 6 months ago. At first, she was kind. She bought Sophie gifts and spoke sweetly. But the moment James left for work, everything changed. "You're awake early," Victoria said, her voice cold as ice. She was sipping coffee, her long nails tapping against the cup. "Why are you wearing that dress?" Sophie looked down, confused. "Daddy said I should wear it." Victoria's jaw tightened. "Your daddy isn't here right now, is he?" Sophie shook her head slowly. "Exactly." Victoria stood up and walked toward a drawer. She pulled out a bundle of gray fabric and threw it at Sophie's feet. "From now on, you'll wear this during the day." Sophie bent down and picked it up. It was a maid's uniform. "But I'm not a maid," Sophie said, her voice barely a whisper. Victoria's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Aren't you? You live in this house. You eat the food others cook. You sleep in a bed others clean. So yes, Sophie, you'll help like everyone else." Sophie's hands trembled as she held the rough fabric. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. "Not yet." "Go put it on," Victoria snapped. "And hurry up. Breakfast is getting cold." Sophie climbed back upstairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. She closed her bedroom door and sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the uniform in her lap. Her teddy bear sat beside her, silent and still. "I want my mummy," she whispered. But no one answered. Days turned into weeks. And every morning, Sophie woke up and put on that gray uniform. The sleeves were too long. The fabric smelled like soap and sadness. But she wore it because she was afraid of what would happen if she didn't. Victoria had rules. So many rules. No watching television. No playing in the garden. No speaking unless spoken to. And every day, Sophie had to help the housemaid, Mrs. Beatrice, with chores, washing dishes, folding laundry, mopping floors. Mrs. Beatrice was a kind older woman with silver hair and soft hands. She watched Sophie with a broken heart. "My sweet child," she would whisper when Victoria wasn't around. "This is not right. You should be playing, not working." But Sophie would just shake her head. "Please don't say anything, Mrs. Beatrice. She'll get angry." One evening, Victoria hosted a dinner party. Her wealthy friends came dressed in designer gowns and expensive jewelry, laughing and drinking wine as if they owned the world. Sophie. Victoria's voice echoed through the house. Come here. Sophie appeared in the doorway, trembling, holding a silver tray with glasses of champagne. The room went silent. One of the women leaned forward, whispering loudly, Is that the daughter? Why is she dressed like that? Victoria smiled, cold and sharp. She's learning responsibility, something her mother never taught her. The words cut through Sophie like a knife. Her hands shook so badly that one of the glasses nearly tipped over. Careful, Victoria barked. You're so clumsy, just like your mother was. Sophie's lip quivered, but she bit down hard to stop herself from crying. She placed the glasses on the table one by one, her small hands shaking with every movement. As the women laughed and gossiped, Sophie stood against the wall, silent and invisible. None of them looked at her. None of them cared, except for one woman. Mrs. Helena, an older guest with kind eyes, watched Sophie closely. Something in her gaze softened, but she said nothing. Later that night, when Sophie accidentally dropped a spoon, the sound rang out like a gunshot. Everyone turned. Victoria's face turned red with rage. Before anyone could react, she slapped Sophie across the face. The room froze. Sophie stood there, her cheek burning, tears streaming down her face. But she didn't make a sound. Clean it up, Victoria hissed. And stop crying. No one likes a weak child. Sophie knelt on the floor and wiped up the spoon with a napkin, her tears falling silently onto the marble. Mrs. Helena stood up slowly. Victoria, she said carefully, she's just a little girl. But Victoria waved her off. You wouldn't understand, Helena. She needs discipline. That night, after everyone left, Sophie sat alone in the garden under the stars. The fountain trickled softly beside her. She dipped her hand in the cool water and touched it to her burning cheek. Daddy, she whispered to the sky, please come home. But upstairs, in the shadows of the hallway, a small red light blinked quietly. A security camera, recording everything. It was early Saturday morning when the black car pulled into the driveway. The engine hummed, then went silent. Inside the kitchen, Victoria's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. No, she whispered. He wasn't supposed to be back until next week. Mrs. Beatrice's eyes widened. Madam, Mr. Williams is home. The front door opened, and James Williams stepped inside. He was tall, with kind eyes and a calm presence. But today, there was something different in his expression, something sharp. Sophie, he called out. From the kitchen, Sophie's heart leapt. She dropped the dish she was holding and ran, her little feet slapping against the floor. Daddy! She crashed into his arms, and he caught her, holding her tight. But then he felt her trembling. He looked down and froze. She was wearing the maid's uniform. His face changed instantly. Why are you dressed like this? Victoria appeared in the doorway, forcing a smile. James, darling, you're home early. It's nothing serious. She was just helping around the house. Helping? His voice was low, dangerous. You made my daughter a servant in her own home? I was teaching her discipline, Victoria said quickly. You're misunderstanding. Before the story continues, subscribe. These stories are written to change lives. Discipline. James's voice rose, echoing through the hall. By slapping her? By making her serve your friends like she's worthless? Victoria's face went pale. Who told you that? James didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the living room and pointed to the corner of the ceiling. A small black camera, red light blinking. Victoria's breath caught in her throat. You didn't know, did you? James said coldly. I had cameras installed months ago. For security. To protect my family. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. The large television on the wall flickered to life. And then the footage played. Victoria's laughter. Her cruel words. The slap. Sophie on her knees, cleaning the floor while guests watched. The room was silent except for the sound of the video. When it ended, James turned to Victoria. His eyes were filled with something she'd never seen before, fury wrapped in heartbreak. "I trusted you," he said quietly. "I gave you everything. And you broke my little girl." "James, please," Victoria's voice cracked. "I made mistakes, but—" "Pack your things," he said. "You're leaving. Today." Victoria stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "James, please. I love you. Don't do this." But James had already turned away. He knelt down and scooped Sophie into his arms. "You don't have to be scared anymore, sweetheart," he whispered. "No one will ever hurt you again." Sophie buried her face in his chest, her small body shaking with sobs. "Daddy, I tried to be good. I tried so hard." "I know, baby. I know." His voice broke. "And I'm so sorry I wasn't here." Victoria reached out toward him, but he didn't look back. "Love doesn't hurt children, Victoria," he said quietly. "Love protects them." An hour later, Victoria walked out of the house, dragging her suitcase behind her. She paused at the door and looked back one last time. The house she had tried to control. The life she had tried to claim. All of it gone. And from upstairs, she heard it. Sophie's laughter. Soft and real. For the first time, Victoria understood what she had lost. Not money, not status, but something real. Something she could never get back. Inside the living room, James sat on the couch with Sophie curled up on his lap. He gently wiped her tears with his thumb. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he whispered. "Daddy should have been here." Sophie looked up at him with red, puffy eyes. "Are you going to leave again?" He smiled and shook his head. "Not for a long time. You and I have a lot of pancakes to make up for." She giggled softly, and the sound filled the room like music. Mrs. Beatrice peeked in from the hallway. "Sir, is there anything you need?" James looked down at Sophie, then back at Mrs. Beatrice. "Yes. Take that uniform and burn it. My daughter wears dresses, not sorrow." Mrs. Beatrice nodded, tears in her eyes. That night it rained. Soft and steady, washing the world clean. Sophie fell asleep in her father's arms, safe and warm, her teddy bear tucked beside her. James looked out the window, holding his daughter close. He thought of his late wife, and he whispered into the quiet room, "I've got her. She's safe now." And somewhere, in the glow of the hallway light, the family photograph gleamed softly. The mother's smile, still frozen in time, but the home, finally whole again. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because every child deserves to be protected. Every child deserves to be loved.